I'm Dr. Farid Munim, a medical consultant in the United Kingdom and author of the book In the Shadow of Tyranny, Memoirs of a Doctor from Saddam's Hell. Today, I want to speak about one of the most reckless and destructive wars in our modern history. The reckless war of invasion of Kuwait, and how that adventure led to a humanitarian, political, and economic catastrophe for Iraq and the entire region. After 8 years of devastating war with Iran between 1980 and 1988, Iraq emerged exhausted economically and humanly, with hundreds of thousands killed and billions of dollars in debt. Most of it owed to Gulf countries that had supported Saddam during the war. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and others provided him with money, fuel, and political support. Kuwait even allowed Iraq to use Bubiyan Island and its waterways during Iraq's attempt to recapture the Fawa Peninsula from Iran. But when the war ended, Saddam demanded that those countries cancel his debts. When Kuwait refused, he accused it of betraying Iraq and manipulating oil production to weaken its economy. Instead of seeking a diplomatic solution, he chose the worst possible path. On the 2nd of August 1990, he sent his army to invade Kuwait, a reckless invasion that had no legal or moral justification. During the months of occupation, Saddam's army committed atrocities against Kuwaiti civilians. Thousands of men and women were arrested, many taken to Iraq, and their fate remains unknown even after the fall of the regime in 2003. Buildings were burnt, properties looted, and vital oil and economic infrastructure destroyed. The Iraqi forces treated innocent civilians as enemies, leaving behind deep wounds that still linger to this day. Then came the War of Liberation, led by the international coalition under the United States. As the Iraqi army retreated from Kuwait, came what became known as the Highway of Death. The road between Kuwait and Basra were convoys of retreating tanks, vehicles, and escaping unarmed military personnel were heavily bombed by coalition aircrafts. The road was littered with corpses and burnt-out vehicles, a horrific scene that remains a stain on the history of modern warfare. In the end, after total collapse, the regime was forced to accept all the coalition's conditions. In the Safwan tent, Iraqi Defense Minister General Sultan Hashim Ahmed met with US General Norman Schwarzkopf, commander of coalition forces, and signed the ceasefire agreement, accepting all humiliating terms, merely so Saddam could remain in power for even one more day. But before leaving that chapter, we must pause at a revealing moment. After the Iran-Iraq war ended, Saddam sent a letter of apology to Iranian President Hashemi Rafsanjani, admitting that the war against Iran was a grave mistake and that some Western and so-called Arab countries had entangled him in it. He, the same man who once boasted that he had led the Arab nation against the Persians, later apologized and claimed that others had deceived him. And today we can hear his own voice in one of his speeches where he admits that he was drawn into the war with Iran by Western powers and certain Arab regimes that promised to stand with him only to abandon him once the fires of war consumed both sides. Listen now to this rare recording of Saddam Hussein himself, admitting in his own words that he never wanted the war, that they, as he said, pushed him into it.
بتطبيع العلاقات مع إيران وإقامة علاقة وثيقة وبحسن نية وطي صفحة عن الماضي الذي كان يسود آنذاك. وبعد رسالة السيد الرئيس القائد إلى الرئيس رفسنجاني تاريخ 14/8/90
إن المؤامرة بدأت أساسا بالحرب العراقية الإيرانية، عملية إلهاء للعراق وحتى من طرف آخر عملية إلهاء لجانب من قدرات إيران الخيرة، لإظهار الجانب اللي يوصل الأمور إلى المهاول الخطيرة. ويقينا بأن الذي كان يغذي هذا هي نفس أطراف التحالف الآن التي تقف بالخط المضاد، سواء كان العربية منها أو التي تسمى عربية منها أو الأجنبية، وبالذات إطالة الحرب.
This explicit confession from the tyrant's own mouth after years of blood and destruction exposes the contradiction and recklessness that defined his decisions. They were not the decisions of a political or military mind, but of a man blinded by arrogance, a man who dragged his nation and his people into ruin. When he ordered the withdrawal from Kuwait, the decision was chaotic and unplanned. Some of his professional commanders, such as General Barak Abdul Amir al-Haj Junta and General Kamil Sachet, advised him to organize the withdrawal to minimize losses. But Saddam, who had never been a real officer, rejected their advice, accused them of cowardice, and then had them executed brutally. He was not worthy even of being a simple soldier, for he understood nothing of military science, politics, or mercy. Thus ended that reckless adventure. Iraq lay in ruins, its economy collapsed. Tens of thousands of soldiers were killed or captured, and millions of civilians endured years of hunger, sanctions, and suffering, all because of the folly of one man who thought himself above history. War is not heroism, war is tragedy. And it is not for revenge that we remember, but so that the tragedy will never be repeated. All these stories are described in my book, In the Shadow of Tyranny, Memoirs of a Doctor from Saddam's Hell, available on Amazon. You can find the link below this video. I invite you to read it, reflect on it, and share it with others, so that the memory stays alive. Please support the channel, give a like, and subscribe, so the truth can reach everyone. Thank you for watching. This was Dr. Farid Munim.